Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Gooners podcast. It is actually good that we started the recording late. I mean, I was totally down after the R game, but seeing Spurs capitulate against Chelsea, that's all the happiness I need to do this today. Today we have Arun with us. Hi, Arun.
Hello.
And we have someone new who's going to be a regular from now on, Kashyap, with us. Hi, Kashyap. Welcome to the show.
Good morning, bro, from India. I think it's evening for you there in Canada, so yeah, good evening as well.
Awesome. Welcome to the show. It's nice to have you. So today we are going to
Thank you
talk
so much,
about
bro.
today we're going to talk about the Newcastle game. We have a lot to talk today, so it could be, it is going to be a longer episode. There is no, could be. It is going to be a longer episode because we have a lot to discuss today. I know Arun's shaking his head that it's like, this is all we have talked about this too much, but this is the time for us to talk. So we will talk. And before we start, as usual, please do, like, share, subscribe, and also like reach out to us. We would like to hear from you, like to know what is happening in now follow us ahead. We have 300 subscribers, so obviously we would be looking for our podcast to be spread. With that out of the way, let's get this started. For me, it is. I'll start with Kashyap, right? Like after the game, it felt really, really bad. It felt really bad, as in like it felt like the season's done kind of feeling, which is not true. We are 11 games in. This is our first loss. This is not true. But like my feeling was so deeply hurt by this result. How do you feel after that?
Yeah, bro. Immediately as the game was over, I thought, man, I think I need to go out and get a smoke. That is the first thing that crossed my mind.
Best
It
response
was
ever.
it has been it was around 2 to 2:30 in the night. I was like, man, and I was at a place inside a colony where none of the shops are open. I couldn't go out. I couldn't do anything. So I got really really wild, and I was not able to react. I was not able to respond to how that loss was, because man, it was like I felt, bro, it was stolen away from us in like a quick second. We were so good, and suddenly, that kind of disappointment, it really, really puts you down. I thought, oh, my week is done for. That's what I was thinking. So I hope Arsenal better turn up well against Sevilla. But I mean, let's be honest, Arsenal turned up really well for this game. They matched them physically very well. We played our hearts out, bro. That is a fact. But we can talk about the refereeing decisions later, but for that kind of for when you play that kind of a game, coming away without a result really really hits you bad. And I hope the boys don't lose their morale, because if they do lose their morale, it's going to be a very very long season for them, considering that we are playing the Champions League as well. So yeah, it should not affect anyone mentally is what I hope and pray. Let's hope for the best.
Arun, actually, Kashyap made a great point, right? Like after the game, not only our reaction, the reaction from the manager was very, very, very strong, and the club has backed him again, right? Like you have been calling out that we should be racing this, we should be doing what Liverpool did, and we didn't do exactly what Liverpool did, but we did do something similar. We are on that same path. My problem with that is like after that is done, I don't know if you watch like Jamie Carragher's interview and all those other people's interviews. They are now going like, oh, this is wrong for Arsenal to do this. These are the same people who never said a word against Liverpool. What is
It's a
this?
problem. It's a problem only when it happens to you, right? That's how all of these guys, like, I just wish that these guys don't are removed from their jobs and, like, don't get a platform or a mic to talk about. Of course, being YouTubers, it's easy to say that, but like, that's the thing, right? It's something that you're basically not questioning the issue or the body that's making the mistakes. Rather, you're just like trying to condone someone who's trying to raise a voice against it, and you're just enabling the people making the mistakes even more by not wanting to have an opposition to what they're doing. So for me, like that, you are really not helping with finding a solution. You're just being a part of that problem at that point. It's not just him. It was Carragher, it was Neville, it was Michael Owen, and then I'm surprised. Like, if something similar happens in a United game, would Neville still say the same? And if he does, what is he really doing? What is he really helping? Like, is he still talking about like how football was played 20 years ago and how like it's all about the passion and how you go hard and everything? Like, that's not what football is right now. It's the entire quality of the league is getting like it's going down because of these decisions. And that's not to say that we played amazingly well, but again, like these are things that make the difference, right? So instead of getting, even if it had ended 0-0, we would have gotten a point. So instead of getting a point, we ended up with 0. And instead of Newcastle getting a point or ending with a point, they got 3.
I mean, we are here, so let us talk about it. Like, so we will talk about it in two phases about this game, right? Like, one would be about the refereeing decision, and the other would be about how we perform. First, let's start with the refereeing decision, because that should, like, for me, the problem is football is a very low scoring game, right? It's often margins are like a goal. So when a goal decides a game, and it is not decided, the goal or the game was not decided by the players on the pitch, but rather by the referees who are there to be, who are not to influence the game. Right? The whole point of a referee is not to influence the game. But in this game, especially, it was the referees who defined what the result for that game is. I cannot even think of it. Like, okay, I'll put both you in the spot, right? Like, I'll ask this question. First question is like, the tackle by let's get that away. The tackle by Kai Havertz, was that a foul? Yes, but was that a red card offense?
No, it was a yellow card,
Bro, I
proper yellow
wouldn't say
card
it was a
offensive.
yellow card offense because of two reasons. Number one, it was his trailing foot; it was not his leading foot. And trailing foot, and by the time, and there is a lot of talk that Kai Havertz attempted the tackle after the ball had gone out of play. That is false. The ball was still in play, and he attempted that tackle, and because of his foot hitting this guy, the ball went out of play or something like that. That's how I saw it. And I don't think that's a red card offense at all. It's a yellow card offense, and yeah, things did get heated up from there. We'll talk about that further as we progress.
Yeah. So both of you say that it's an yellow card offense, and I feel the same too. There was the whole point of people claiming that to be a red card offense is like absolutely bullshit for me, because
It's just you're just trying to push an agenda at that point, because like it's like Newcastle had like players who were basically like being thugs and beating our players up, and you're just trying to hide this at that point by like diverting the attention to what Kai Havertz did. If Kai Havertz leading leg had hit the Newcastle defender, yeah, I would have said definitely. Was it long stuff? Yeah, I would have agreed that would have been a red card, because the studs would have been showing. That was irresponsible, definitely. Yeah, makes sense. But like, you're having this happening with his leading leg nowhere near the body of Longstaff, and there was no contact in there. It was his trailing leg that hit him. Yellow card was the perfect decision. And with that, like just saying that, oh, because of Howard's doing this and not getting a card, it evens out with Bruno Guimaraes or like Dan Burn not getting cards. It doesn't make any sense at all. It doesn't work that way. It really
And
doesn't work that way.
and I also feel that, bro, using the Kai Havertz agenda to gaslight what has happened in the entire string of events, that is just plain nonsense, because they are just trying to cover up, and they are just trying to cover up what the ugly refereeing was at the game. Uh,
no,
so yeah,
that's what I'm getting at, right? Like, the ugly refereeing didn't start there. Like, the ugly refereeing didn't start at the goal issue. Like, for me, the first problem is like Bruno Guimaraes shouldn't be on the pitch. And when I talk to like Newcastle fans, they're like, "Oh, Bruno is like that." Like, fuck that shit. If Bruno is like
Yeah.
that, he should be getting
If
a
he's
card.
like that, then he should be getting cards every game.
Yeah.
Like it's
So,
the same thing with Romero. I keep saying this. He might look like a good defender, but he's not because of the type of tackles that he's doing. Same thing with Gooners. He might do wonders with the ball, but
Mhm.
off the ball, if he's doing things like this, he's always going to be a liability.
So
And
the Bruno Gomes thing, right? Like that is a card for me, a red card for me, because it was intentional. It was nowhere near the ball. But the answer I got or from all the shows was that, like, if it was elbow, then it would have been a card. But because it was forearm, it's not a card. How is that even? How is that even fair? Like, is
the
that does that?
PGMOL did some tests with people. Probably they had crash test dummies, and they
Yeah,
realized that if you actually hit with the forearm, nothing happens to the crash test dummy.
it's
It's only
not
with
lethal
the
enough. It's not lethal enough,
elbow.
is what.
The elbow, the dummy immediately like burst into flames. So probably that's
But
the
that's the
reason why
thing,
they
right?
had
Like
it.
when people are talking about this, I'm going like 2 seasons ago or a season ago, when like Granit Xhaka does the choke slam. Remember, he does
Yeah,
the choke slam. He touches someone and the person falls down, and Xhaka gets a red card. And the season
yeah.
before that,
Bruno did the same thing to Rice. He throat punched him literally.
yeah.
I mean, like, don't justify these things. That's the thing I'm saying. And when I was talking to this with the Newcastle fan, he was like, "Oh, Arsenal were known for getting red cards 20 years ago." I mean, like, is this your argument really? Like, the
That's
kind of
not even
football that you
relevant,
guys are
isn't it?
playing.
20
It's
years
how
ago.
is that relevant? It's like, oh, try to take a side. I mean, come on, like what side are we supposed to be taking here? Like the football was played in a very different way 20 years ago. Things have changed and if you're still going to be like playing Stone Age football, then I really don't. I'm telling you, there's nothing maverick about this. All this, it could have been like the difference between the big injury and like the player not being able to play for another 6 months. Anything could have happened. There's no point like sort of like hyping these up and saying that this is how physical footballers or football is a contact sport. That's not the reason. No.
So that's where, like, Kashyap, my thing is, right? Like, if Bruno Gomes get the card there, then it would have set up precedents that, like, okay, you would be punished for doing wrong, but it didn't happen. Dan Burn kept fouling Saka, and
That's the
then,
worst part. He was injured himself and he was still fouling Saka.
yeah, and then, like, so my thing is, like, there we match them physically, but how can a team prepare for such kind of, and this is not the first time it is happening to Arsenal, right? Like, we were told, like, what's his name, he said, like, oh, we lack our cojones, or what's his name, Troy Deeney says, oh, we lack our
Riding.
cojones, and then we always go to Stoke and get bullied. This is a part of the game that I don't understand, Kashyap, right? Like, where being physical is one thing, but being dirty is another thing. And Newcastle is always dirty for me. How do we play against these teams? How do we play when the referee is not on your side? How do we play this game?
Yeah, bro. Bro, before we begin this conversation, I also wanted to add that the referees who were present for the game, right, Stuart Atwell and their team of VAR as well, they had gone to officiate a match in the UAE a week prior, is what I've heard. Is that true, Arun, bro, or is just rumors?
Sorry,
Uh,
can you say that
What?
again?
they went to
No,
the
what?
Oh,
UAE.
They
the
went to the
timing, the
UAE.
timing, the referees going to the UAE or the timing being in line with prime viewing time 5:30 p.m. in the Middle East. Which one are we talking about? Because everything
No,
points to definite corruption.
they, they had gone to the Gulf a week prior to officiate certain games. The same
Yeah,
team of
yeah.
Stuart Atwell
They
and all
that
those
was
guys.
news that.
So
I
and
mean, like I don't know if that is going to make it anything unless they are on the payroll of the Middle East and the teams that own these foundations, which own these clubs. Unless these guys are on the payroll, I don't know. And if it does come out that they are on the payroll, that's going to be funny.
But that's the thing,
and
right? Like, even without that, like, even if we are taking the conspiracy out of this thing, right? Like, let's. I don't know if it is a conspiracy at this point, but even if we take the conspiracy out of this situation, right? Like, they went there or whatever, whether they paid, whatever it is, right? This is not a game that was on fair field. Like, it's not a game that was just by the refereeing, right? Like, it's also by how bad Newcastle's tactics is. And, like, now, Kashyap, like, when we are seeing all these like news media, and Arun already said like they should be fired, and I agree with that. Especially like Jamie Carragher and all those people, they're coming out and like praising Newcastle for this game plan.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
How is that like? How is that anything to do with football?
Yeah, bro, more than see what more than the footballing aspect of this Newcastle game, right? We know that they are physical, and at St James Park, we know that those guys are proper thugs. We have seen it last year. We've seen it in the year prior, where they beat us 2-0 and cost us our Champions League spot. Last year we gave them a nice ass whooping, but it was a difficult game. Let's be honest about it. We beat them 2-0, but having them score an own goal and then Odegaard with that brilliant finish last year. So that is how we had to beat them on pure technical ability. And I felt yesterday Odegaard was a pure miss because he would just wriggle out of that physicality and create something for us, right? Uh, so and also we know, bro, last time out at the Emirates as well, they had guys doubling up on Saka, doubling up on Martinelli. They knew that our wing play would be the focal point of where we attack, and they started doubling up on Saka, and they gave him a really tough time. They beat him up last year as well at the Emirates. And at that point of time, we didn't have a Jesus who could dribble through and get past the defense. We were having Nketiah in that game too at the Emirates, where we drew 0-0 with them.
Yeah.
So we kind of knew that these guys would be playing physical. But would they play this dirty? I was not sure they would play this dirty. But come on, man, that Bruno Guimaraes, I don't know, bro. Like, is he a wrestler? Is he a footballer?
Rugby
That guy
tackler.
is no, he's trying. What is he even trying to do? Is he playing in? He's thinking he's playing in the La Liga or something, where you can simply get away with doing stuff like that. Let me be honest. Even the standards of refereeing in the La Liga have improved a lot. And
Mhm.
coming back to referees, right? When you see that the entire Champions League, the list of referees or the entire the all the referees in the Champions League, none of them are from England.
Yep.
Isn't that an abominable shame?
Yeah.
Like, come on, you're the best league in
It's
the world, and
it's
none
funny
of you.
because Anthony Taylor, sorry to cut you off, Anthony Taylor, who was demoted to the championship, he goes to the championship and he gives an amazing decision against like one of the teams, a penalty. Like the guy was through on goal and there was no foul in there, and he gives another penalty, like reiterating and reconfirming the decision that he is bad. And what's going to happen now? Are they going to demote him another level because he gave a bad decision? No, he's going to be back in the Premier League in 2-3 weeks time. So
So
this
so
is
the,
not going to change. This is
So
not
let's
going to
get back
change.
to the when we have been talking about the refereeing decision, right? Like let's talk about the goal that they scored, and it's like beating the same drum over and over again for me. But still, there were three checks, right? Like it should have been four checks, but let's assume three checks. The first check was that the ball was out or not, and it was inconclusive to them, right? My problem with that is you have something called a goal line technology, which can detect whether the ball has passed the goal post or not. Why don't we use such technology? Okay, we don't use it. Fine. Then last game when we were playing, right? Like there was a clear information where they showed that the ball has crossed. I think it was United game, right?
Mhm,
Yeah,
If I'm
mhm.
not wrong, where the ball has passed the line. Like we saw the picture of like, okay, the ball's curvature is here and everything. Why can't they do that in this game? How is that like? For me, it doesn't make sense that it can happen in one game that you can get this visual, and in another game in the Premier League you cannot get this visual. How is that fair? I mean, any of you can explain this to me.
I have no
yeah,
words.
bro.
I have
I'll
nothing to
I'll
say.
I'll start off with this. Like, see, a lot of the explanation that was given by the referees after. I mean, not the referees, the PGMOL after, not in a public explanation. It was the explanation that they gave. Right? They were saying that we don't have enough angles to check out whether the evidence was inconclusive or not. Like, come on, if my honest question is, this is such a huge venue where you have more than 50,000 fans who are attending this match,
Mm-hmm.
right? And you don't And it's a huge stadium. Let's make no mistake about it. It's a big stadium. In such a huge stadium, in such a big club, which is now being owned by the Saudi PIF, and they are going to pump in more and more money. If you can't get bloody this trivial technology to assess whether a ball has gone out of play, and you don't have enough camera angles to check it out, then of what need is your huge stadium and your huge income source, huge revenue, and all those things, right? Like even last year around, I still remember when we played Fulham away or Bournemouth away, there was a Gabriel penalty that we conceded, right? And it was also given. And Craven Cottage is not a big ground by any means, but we had clear angles to decide
Yeah,
how Gabriel's penalty was given, right?
yeah.
And fair play, it was worth a penalty, it was given. Like, but yesterday, whether really, if there are no angles to check if it was conclusive or not, it's a shame. And if there were angles and the referees were not willing to check it, that's a completely different topic altogether.
That is the second thing I was getting at, right? Like, okay, the other thing that the second instant, Arun, like the second thing that they checked was the push on Gabriel. Let me ask you this question: if that push happened anywhere else on the pitch, okay, forget it's in the box, it's in this situation. If that kind of push happens anywhere else on the pitch, is it a foul? Yes or no?
It is a foul. It's a foul wherever it happens. The same thing. We were penalized, and Spurs got a penalty for what Cedric did to Son, which was basically he was going for the tackle, and he didn't like the only point of contact was with Cedric's shoulder and back, with Son's shoulder and back, and they got a penalty for that. And now the reverse is happening. One of the first things that every VAR check does is checking if there's a handball or not. During that foul, there was a handball that wasn't checked at all. Big, I don't understand why, because it's not conclusive. Whereas, like they are saying that it is proper evidence that there is handball. So sometimes I really don't know. It's like they call it subjective, but it shouldn't be subjective amidst referees, right? Like a rule is a rule. It shouldn't be like subject to
That's
interpretation.
exactly
Like
my question, right? Like it's like the subjective could be on other things. I'm just saying, like, is it a foul? If the answer is yes,
it's a foul.
then it is
Anywhere on that pitch, it's a
anywhere on
foul.
the pitch, it's a foul. Then what is the rule? If that foul happens in the box, it is a penalty. That's it. It's a clear and
Yeah.
obvious, like it's a clear and obvious rule. There was no subjectivity, like whether other decision, right? This is a foul. Foul inside the box is penalty. That's all.
100%. This
What
was
is
like
there
in
to be
the
inconclusive?
opposite. Yeah, this was the opposite one. Then like he is supposed to like it was a handball too, like I said. So the play should have stopped right there, or the goal should have like when they went and I don't think the referee ever went and saw the TV
No,
to check for
no,
no
no.
nothing at all. Yeah,
No, bro.
so there was no check done, and then everything somehow seemed conclusive enough for them to call that a goal. And I don't know. There are four different points of contention, and if you're not able to see even one of them being like conclusive enough to disallow the goal, I am starting to doubt myself and whatever I know about football. Honestly,
Kashyap,
I really don't
Kashyap,
understand.
the thing is, right? Like, okay, this has happened. Arteta has come out, the club has come out, and all this has done, right? Like now we have to put this behind our back, and all like you said, everything is fine. But regarding the referee decisions, right? Like this is not the first time that has happened, and this is not going to be the last time this has happened to us, and it will keep happening. Where do we go from here? Like how do we take this and like okay, this is what it is, or as fan it is very difficult for me to understand this kind of situation, right? Like there were four counts according to Arun, but according to VAR there were three counts. But when the you said that you heard the PGMO thing, right? Like where their defense is that the VAR referees didn't want to override the on-field decision because there was no clear and obvious uh, decision to be made at VAR room. Then what is the point of VAR?
Exactly. Yeah, bro. The thing is, see, I'll go back to the foul on Gabriel at that point of time, right? Like, come on, he's clearly pushing the guy. The guy is stooping and dropping to his feet. He's dropping to the ground, and still you call that inconclusive. I don't know what football these guys know, because I'm no fan of football, bro. Football for 20-25 years, as Arun bro is, right. I've been watching Arsenal play for the last 5 years at max, right. So from all the football I know, you push someone, that's a foul, that's a clear foul, and you're clearly impeding him from defending his goalpost or whatever, right.
Exactly,
So,
exactly.
so that, and by the way Gabriel dropped to the ground, I mean, prior to that, I feel he was going for the header to clear it out of there, right. So, and when you drop him to the ground, the guy is not able to jump, he falls to the ground, and the ball lands, and while his hand is still on Gabriel's neck, the ball drops to the this guy's chest, hits his hand, and then falls down. He kicks it to the other guy, and he scores a goal. Like, come on, like that's blatant cheating if you can't see that. And I don't know, like,
That's actually a right word to use. This was a blatant cheating that was done there.
like,
That's the truth.
yeah, bro. And like, these guys are celebrating such a dirty goal. Like, come on, man.
I mean,
Uh,
that is fine, right? Like, I mean, as a fan, if we are on the other side of it, we would have celebrated a win like that too. I'm not blaming that. The blame is on other fans for me, especially like all the Liverpool fans, all the United fans, all the City fans, all the Chelsea fan, all this. These people going behind this as like, okay, yeah, this is fine. You're crying now. No, we are not crying now. It's a game. It's we are still in the top four race, we are still there and above. So we are not crying about like a loss. We are crying because this was cheating,
This
right?
is going to
yeah,
happen to
bro.
them as well.
Yeah. Okay, so let's get back to the other side, right? Like to talk about the game side of it, where our side, like where we want to see what has happened. Um, it was a surprise to not have Odegaard in when we go back to the starting lineup, because there was nothing mentioned in the last game, midweek game. He came in, he scored the goal. There was nothing mentioned about him being injured or anything. But on the game day, it was a surprise, and so much so that we ended up having two goalkeepers in our bench.
That made no sense to me. Like, you're having so
Yeah,
many youngsters, academy players. I don't see the need for having like two goalkeepers. You could have at least, like, that would have at least given some confidence, especially given that we are out of the Carabao Cup and the manager is not, like, known for giving as many chances to academy players as we would have liked them to. But beyond that, like, in Odegaard's absence, I felt that it was an opportunity for the rest of the team. I know the captain is missing, but still it's a tough game. So it's an opportunity for everyone else to be able to come in and make a difference. And that's where I feel that that difference that I was expecting was not there. It seemed like everybody is comfortable that Rice is present and Rice would take care of everything that happens. That they sometimes don't seem to be doing their own roles to the best of how they possibly could be executing what they're supposed to be doing. It seems
Mhm.
like Rice is doing the job of two, three people in there, and that's definitely not good. Well, you can argue that it's like a team that is like trying to get used to new formations and lack of players and all that, but that's why we have the squad for. The manager is putting his trust on you. The same thing that happened in the Carabao Cup as well. The manager is putting his trust on you. You get 5 minutes, try to make an impact in those 5 minutes. There's no point in being dull for the remaining 90 minutes. I don't think we were set up to win, or even if we were set up to win, it is not a strategy that uh, is 100% going to yield you the results, right? Like, if the strategy was to play for 60 to 70, 75 minutes, countering the physicality of Newcastle, and then trying to score on the break after they're tired with a technical superiority, then you need to be relentless and you need to make use of the opportunities that you get. But when you're not really creating chances and you're very dependent on what's happening through your wingers, and the wingers are having a bad game, you're not going to be getting anything done. Then that's exactly what happened today, or on Saturday. Sorry.
Mhm. So
Uh,
Kashyap, like going back to the starting lineup, right? Like I mean, sorry, you continue your thought, but like before that, like going back to the starting lineup, not having Odegaard, not having Partey, those two are like in a lot of ways are attacking force. Like Partey controls the midfield, converts that defense to offense, and Odegaard is the guy who receives that ball from Partey. So to replace those two, we had Jorginho and Havertz.
Havertz.
Do you think with the current situation, I mean, not looking back on the game, but like with Havertz having his trouble, do you think that was a right decision by Arteta to start Havertz there?
Yeah, bro. I feel it. Arteta did the right thing by starting Havertz because he's tall and he's physical. But again, when you don't have Odegaard, who is already out with an injury, I mean he's missing because of injury. You don't have much choice, do you? Because if you put in Fabio Vieira there, trust me, he would come out on a stretcher back from. Given the physicality of that game, he would have been back to the Emirates or back home in a stretcher, right? So putting Fabio Vieira there is not going to help, and they'll just bully him. They'll just beat the holy crap out of him. That's what's going to happen. So putting Havertz there was a wise choice. But again, what I fail to see here is, what I see here is, why did Arteta not have enough attacking subs, right?
Mhm.
Because most of our substitutions were defensive. Our subs sitting on the bench were defensive. Like you've got Cedric, you've got this guy Zinchenko, you've got Carl. There is no need for two goalkeepers, as Arun Bro said, right? One goalkeeper is very much fine. Then you've got, let me just check, I'm not sure, but you've got mostly defensive substitutions. Your
Yeah,
attacking
we
substitutions,
don't
you've got.
also have, like, that's also something that we need
Smith
to
Rowe, we
talk about.
didn't.
The fact that people like Smithrow, Party,
Jesus.
and Jesus, they're not able to keep themselves injury free for longer periods of time. Like we always say, availability is one of the most important qualities. One of the most important abilities, and like not having these people is going to come and bite us back in the bum. We sort of have to be more prudent with our recruitment from now on.
Uh, okay, let's go back to the performance, right? Like to talk more about it, which is also like bringing up this whole thing of like where Arsenal are at this moment. This season, we've been talking about it, but like this season feels like, for me at least, that we have gone a little bit back, even with the addition of Rice, who seems absolutely brilliant. For 105 million, that guy is worth every penny. But it feels like we have gone back a little bit in the terms of like, we can say all these things about like, okay, yeah, we have all teams are sitting back, defending deep, and it'll happen. And if you're a big
Yeah,
team, that's going to happen,
yeah,
right? The whole point of that is moving forward is going through that. We
yeah.
have been absolutely brilliant defensively. I would say we are the best defensive unit in Premier League, even though we have conceded one goal more than City has. But I would say our defensive unit is much better than them as a unit. At least our first set of defensive unit is much better than City's defensive unit. I have no problem in our defense. The problem is converting that defense into attack. We had 60% possession in this game. We had, I
That's
think, like,
that's something that I've been mentioning. We're having like all this possession game after game, but it's what you try to uh make of it is what matters, right? Like you
yeah.
can just keep the possession and
Yeah,
not
that
do
that the
anything.
question is, right, like for me, is it a personal issue? Is it because like, oh, we are not having Jesus, we are not having Odegaard, we are not having Partey, we are not playing the best team possible? Is it a personal issue or is it a system issue?
I don't. You know what? I don't want this to be a personal issue, because if the system is going to work only if that particular set of 11 players are available, then that's a problem with the system. You know what I mean? That should not be the case. It should be such that anyone who comes in and fits in, should be able to get set to the system very easily and make a difference there. And that's why, like, the manager got the players that he wanted, and that's how none of our signings right now is is a player that the manager did not want, and we had to make do with another option that because of the cheaper option. Like Trossard, if you say we got him instead of Mudryk, and Mudryk is not setting the world on fire right now, and Trossard has definitely had a better performance than him. Caicedo versus Jorginho, it was always going to be either Caicedo or Rice. So if had we gotten Caicedo, we wouldn't have gotten Rice at the same time. So the manager has his players. I'm praying that it's definitely not a thing where if the system is going to work only if we have Partey, Rice, and Odegaard playing together, or if we have that should not be the case. So for me, what I feel is in an attempt to be more compact and prevent any chances from going to the opposition, we are not having the impetus to actually create more chances. And that's it for me. It seems like it's a very conservative approach. This is not an aggressive sort of. There needs to be a balance. We want to see that balance, and we are hoping to see that with Odegaard and Havertz playing together. But if it's going to take time, so be it. But show me something that would make me believe that this is going to work.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
far, I've really not seen anything that is going to make me believe that this is going to work right now.
Kashyap, you were talking about the plan for this game, right? For me, the biggest problem with this game was that with that, we had 14 shots, right? And out of this 14 shots, we had one shot on target. And then we had 11 corners, which none of it we converted into anything reasonable. In my mind, I can shift through the whole game in my mind. I cannot think of even one instance I can think of is the Martinelli shot, which was just before halftime or right after halftime.
Went straight to Nick Pope's hands, right?
Yeah. That is the only time I feel we had tested Pope. And this is not the only game that we have seen this, right? We have been seeing this blunt attack. We can say, oh, Saka is out of form, Martinelli is out of form. But that happens, right? Those two have been playing so many games. I feel that a lot of people are starting to blame Saka for not being on form, but the guy is still throwing up numbers for us. He's
allowed to have some off games, and when he has the off games, it's up to the rest of the team to perform and compensate for it.
Yeah, so that's the question, Kashyap, right? Do you see this problem? Do you see that we have this attacking problem right now? Even though that the other side of it is when I look at the numbers, we have 23 goals till this point, which is not a lot. We are not far behind cities and Liverpool's. The only people who are ahead of us in the goal numbers, goal for, is Liverpool, City, and Aston Villa. And we are also only second in the goals conceded. The numbers look good, but eye test says otherwise.
Yeah, bro. Before we start about this, right? See, the way I watched the Manchester City game prior to our game, and more than you said, right? Our wingers are having off games and all those things. Yeah, I agree. Saka and Martinelli are, they will have off games, and it's a common thing. But more than having off games, it is the willpower, or it is the when you have brilliant wingers like Saka and Martinelli, it's more about the morale and it's more about the confidence. They should go for those take-ons. I didn't see Saka or Martinelli taking on any of their fullbacks. And even though this guy, even though their left back was on yellow, Saka couldn't do much about it. And that is where you're not going for a take on. You're not trying to and that is where we have this guy Jeremy Doku, who took them on, and he gave 4 assists and 1 goal in a single game. That is where we have to work on, and it comes more or less with morale, I guess, bro. Because see, Jeremy Doku has come from a different league altogether. He has played in a different league. He might be trying out something, because he's got the freedom to do what he does. But Saka and Martinelli, they have been playing in this league for such a long time. They'll be more pragmatic and more conservative.
No,
in
but
their approach.
someone like Doku will only be able to have that freedom to a certain extent because of Pep. Until getting into the final third, he would be under strict instructions from Pep who will be like orchestrating the play there and asking him to do whatever Pep wants him to do. So the freedom there, I'm just sorry to cut you off there. The
See,
freedom
that's
there would
the
not be the
thing
same.
is, Kashyap, right? Like I understand where you're coming from, but the thing is, like for me, it's not just those players, right? Like we don't see, like yes, they create most of our chances, they finish most of our chances, but it's not them that forms the team, right? Like for me, the problem is we are not threatening enough. Even if Saka and Martinelli are not having a good game, we should be threatening enough. We should be having more shots. We should be like, for me, the problem is that we are not shooting enough, or I don't know whether I'm spoiled by our strikers before, or whether I'm spoiled by the teams Arsenal has had before. We are traditionally a team that shoots a lot, or at least like Wenger's teams tries to walk into the net. That would always be the complaint. But we would still be like, around the box doing a lot of things, a lot of complicated things that is going to end up something. But right now, I don't see that into or near the box action. All our action is like we get the ball forward and then we pull the ball back all the way to our defensive unit before doing something else. I don't see that action. Maybe that is why I feel that way. But someone who has
Yeah, bro.
started watching like recently, do you see like that kind of play happening?
Yeah, bro. This is a very valid point. When you mentioned Wenger, right? I started watching football in Wenger's last season, and at that time we had the likes of Ozil, Wilshere, and Ramsey in our midfield. Who were mostly forward minded. They used to play up
Mm-hmm.
forward, and literally we used to walk to the goal. Passing and that one touch play. That is what got me hooked in the first place, and I've been suffering for 6 years now. That is.
We have been suffering for 20 years, so welcome to the club.
So yeah,
22,
and
22 years of suffering. Yeah, welcome to the
yeah,
club.
bro. And at that time, even during Wenger's era, we used to play a high line and we used to get beaten a lot on the counter. They used to drag us out of our defense and hit them, rapid blitz counter attacks, and that's it. They would score 4 5 goals, and we would end up scoring 1 2 goals, and we would lose invariably. Now, what I see last season and this season, what progress we have made is we've got some amazing center backs and a defensive midfielder, right? Uh, Tactically, what Arteta has done, we will still play a high line, but we will not concede as many as we used to do in Wenger's era. That is what I have seen Arteta do last year, because I still go back to the Old Trafford match. I still go back to the match where we played at Old Trafford and lost 3-1 last season, right?
Mm-hmm.
We played an extremely high line, and Rashford and Anthony hit us on the counter. Bruno gave them through balls, and they ran off with the ball. And at that point of time, what I saw tactically is our center backs were facing the goalpost, our scoring goalpost, as in they were
Mm-hmm.
facing De Gea.
Mm-hmm.
And because of that De Gea, you have to make a turn and you have to run back to recover the ball. By the time you make the turn, Rashford has already gained 5 6 yards on you, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or maybe 10 yards on you. And I know Rashford is quick, but Saliba is definitely quicker. And
Mm-hmm.
when you have a 10-yard head start, stopping him will be very difficult because he'll be one on one with the keeper, right? Now this time around, Arteta has tweaked his system in such a way that when you play a high line as well, you will be aware to catch up on any of these pacey wingers, right? For example, Saliba previously, when he used to face when he was facing the opposition goalpost, you will have to make a full turn, and the winger would gain 10 yards on him. But now he's now facing either side. He's facing either the touchline or he's facing the central area. So you have to make only a half turn, and by that time, the other winger can get a maximum head start of 5 yards, which Saliba and Rice are definitely capable of intercepting. Right.
I understand that.
So
See, I appreciate the defensive stability. Sorry to cut you off, but I appreciate
yeah,
the defensive stability. We've done really good, and I feel like this is probably the most safest I feel. Barring even barring like that's another discussion. Like Raya has been not my favorite, has not proven anything for me. And even in this game, I don't feel like he should be the number one, but that's up to the manager. And I would support our players and all those things, but I don't agree that he is the number one for us right now. I don't see that difference in quality between Raya and Ramsdale. But I appreciate everything that you are saying about the defensive side of it, right? Like my problem is the other side of it. Last season, you were saying about us, right? Like, yes, we were having this defensive vulnerability last season, but we didn't suffer this much because, I mean, we suffered at the end of the season, but we had a team that was working front footed. Even the season before that, like where we finished fifth, right? Where Emil Smith Rowe and Saka played that absolute great season together, where Smith Rowe had that first, before Christmas, he had like 10 goals or whatever, and all those things. Even that season, we were attacking so much more. We were talking about like forward momentum. We were talking about how Partey converts defense into attack and all those things. Last season, we saw the same thing about how Shaka was arriving in the box and all those things. I don't see any such innovations in this team this season. Like we were talking about Shaka getting a new position, new way of playing, and Partey doing something different. All those things we were seeing that as progress. This season, I don't see those progress. Do you
Yeah, bro.
see anything?
Yeah, bro. What I see there is, see, we made our the point. What I see here is Arteta is being more pragmatic in this year because he wants to make us defensively sound. And when we are defensively settled, we are sound enough. The attacks and the goals will come on their own. Like not on their own, as in the attacks and goals will start to come. And when we and what he is possibly looking at a peaking time of February, March, April. That's where Arteta wants his team to peak. And last year we peaked a bit early. We peaked in March, and we lost two of our best defenders on a single night. So this season, how I see it is, we will be in the title charge till maybe December, Jan, and from there, if we go on to score, go on a win of say 10, 12 games, winning continuously, I think we are good enough to go all the way, bro. But we will start balling when large majority of our players will be back. But again, if we go there, Arun bro had told that if your players are not there, then it's a system issue. What See, more than a system issue, the system is set, bro. Everyone knows what the system is. It is just that they don't know how to they suffer in decision making, and they are also suffering in areas where like leaving the ball away, not being technically secure with the ball. These things will get ironed out as the season progresses. We are 11 games into the season, and we are still not very far away from a title charge. We are like what we are 4 or 5 points behind City, right?
Yeah.
So and we have already beaten them once. And
Mhm.
I'm not saying that we'll beat them at the Etihad. No, what I'm saying is we are good enough to draw with City again. So considering that City are only one loss away from slipping up to Arsenal. So because we are good enough to take 2 points off of them when we go to the Etihad. So and we'll start balling, bro, by late December, once our UCL group fixtures are done. And December is a month, where we have been very injury prone. December has historically not been good for us. So we get through December unscathed. January we start balling, and we can go for we can go attacking further and further. And the next run of games that we have, right? Luton away, Burnley at home. These 5-6 games should be should be a good run of games where we should win and try to get maximum points out of all these fixtures, and get settled in a way, right? Because against the lower ranked teams, you can try to experiment stuff where it won't be too costly for you. But if you experiment against a Liverpool or a Manchester City, they will trash you black and blue. So we
Mhm.
don't want that. So we have the next few run of games, 5-6 games, where I am expecting 15 points, and where our attacking flair actually comes out. And that's what happened against Bournemouth when we played them at home. We won 5-0 against Sheffield United when we played at home, right?
Yeah.
So our attacking flair did come out in that game, where Emil Smith Rowe was running with the ball, getting assists. He
Mhm.
was making those outside runs. So it was brilliant to watch. It was a feast. It was an eye feast. So in this 5-6 run of games, we start attacking, we start getting our basics right, and we go all the way, bro. Come January, and we push all the way. That's
What
what
a
I see.
positive
That's what I see.
person. I mean, really, like you just like I just
He just
heard this.
sold you a dream, right?
Yeah, yeah. I just like I was literally going like, oh, we are fourth right now. I mean, we could like end up in top four, maybe. And then like Kashyap starts talking about like this is where we are gonna be, and I'm like, yes, I believe you. Like, but Arun, like last question about this game, right? Like where do we go from here is like one of the biggest questions for me. After a game like this, like Kashyap said, it's easy for players to drop their heads and go like, what the fuck? If the system is against me, what can I do? But we have known Mourinho does this best, right? Like us versus them. That this is also a situation where that could be used, where it could be like us versus them. And
If any of those players is feeling, well, what do I do next? The system is against me. Leave the club. Leave the club. That's what I would say. Like it's if then we haven't learned anything at all. I'm saying this because last season we were on a title run. It was ours to lose and we lost it. And one of the comments that was given by Ramsdale was that he thought it was not going to be as difficult as it was. Like I'm fine with players not performing during games, but if you're not learning something from the previous season and taking it to the new next season, then there's no point in you being in the squad at all. Like just leave. Go find another club where the standards are lower and you don't have to learn from one game to another. This is how the Premier League is going to be. This is what it takes to win a league at this level. Yeah, Liverpool found that out, taking 98 points, and City scored 99. That's the levels of the league that we are playing at. And if you're going to let this demoralize you and feel that you cannot put in the effort that is required to win that particular game, don't stay in the club. Leave. We don't want players like that. As
that
And
is
simple as
Arteta
that.
has also made it very clear, bro. He had told us, he had told that he told that he wanted fighters. He didn't want the mourners, or what did he call them? I don't
yeah,
remember
bonus,
exactly.
yeah.
Yeah, it's the same thing that Xhaka said. Like, this is at this level. If you don't feel like you would be able to play at this level, or if this level is tough, stay home. Don't turn up. Stay home. This is not the right club for you.
So yes, that is our review of the Newcastle game. For all the listeners, yes, please do comment in your thoughts on the referee situation, and also on what Kashyap said about us speaking, during January or after January. So comment in or reach out to us in social media handles so that you could be part of this group. So let's continue the discussion on the Premier League at large, right? Like we have been doing this for quite some time now, where I'll throw games at you, both of you, and you could, talk about the game a little bit. I don't know. I'll start with you. Fulham versus United. United left it very late. It was a
Yep.
boring game. I watched it for
Yep.
some time, and it was like United doesn't have a playing style. Does it like what is Ten Hag's style? I mean, I'm
No, I
happy.
think
I'm
we'll
happy
get to
that we
see
didn't get
that.
Ten Hag.
No, I'm telling you, we'll start slowly seeing their style, like as their injured players are coming back from injury. Like I don't know how long it's gonna take Martinez, but I can, like one question that we probably ask is why is Varane not starting? And then like Maguire is playing well, and I don't think a backline of Evans and Maguire and Varane would work. So the manager is sort of forced to not play Varane and play him later. I think once they start getting guys like Luke Shaw, Lisandro Martinez coming back into the team, and Casemiro is now out as well. Like so they have to play around that. So once players start coming in, I think we'll be able to see their style. But one thing that I would want to see from the manager is don't go for the results right now. But that's the unfortunate thing for a manager, right? Like right now, I think he's playing with his job under scrutiny, and the fear of losing his job at any point in time is sort of like not making him implement anything. So he's playing for points right now, which might affect them, which is definitely going to affect them in the long term, especially if knowing United's board and knowing like what the kind of stuff that they do, the easiest thing for them would be to sack the manager. So
But
that's where
who is there out there who will come and take this job right now?
when have they ever thought about that? That's the thing. I wouldn't be surprised if they bring like someone like an Antonio Conte in for like short term results and to keep the fans happy. But I don't think the fans are going to be happy with that either. Like, you are seeing like a Liverpool or a City or even Arsenal for that matter or Spurs playing progressive football, and you want your club to be doing the same. How whatever your talk about your DNA being counter-attacking style, you want to have progressive forward pass for forward style of play. So if the manager is not going to be bringing that, then you're just like going back few years. You're not progressing at all. So in a way, I feel sort of like I don't, it's the worst situation to be as a manager, going into every game like thinking that there's a knife right above your neck, and any loss that you have is going to like take definitely like get you fired. But like it's happening to United, so I think we can enjoy that for a bit.
Yeah, bro. I actually, based on what Arun bro said, right? I the stats say otherwise. Like 50 games, 55 games, I guess, into Ten Hag managing United, and he has got the highest win percentage, and he has beaten someone like a Mourinho. He has beaten someone like a Louis Van Gaal. He has beaten David Moyes to the win percentage. He's got
No, but that's the
68.7%.
thing. It's the same as what every manager did. Like Solskjaer had like a honeymoon run that lasted for almost 2 seasons. But whatever is you're seeing right now is no different from what Solskjaer did. And that's the thing. Like
Yeah,
you can have your win percentage, you can show it to everyone, and like feel happy about it. But beyond that, what do we see at United? That's exactly the
Yeah,
problem I'm saying. He's like scared to implement something which might result in like him not getting the results that he's getting right now. Even if they're playing like shit, they're somehow managing to win the games, and 3 points is all that matters. So the fear of not losing his job is not helping in him being able to progress from where they are to the next stage.
maybe I should change this podcast name to a Manchester United fan podcast because Arun's talking so much about them. To move on, Kashyap, right? Like the next game is City versus Bournemouth. I mean, you already touched upon it about Jeremy Doku having a great game, but 6-1. Come on, they are just too good, aren't they? I
bro, they
mean,
are too damn good. I again, it was like the way when we beat them at the Emirates, right? It was a game of chess where Arteta, had to sacrifice a lot of things and still, won it at the death. So, I mean, it was an amazing game that we when we played against them. And Bournemouth, bro, we expected City to steamroll Bournemouth at the Etihad. Come on, it's their home, right? Or was they? Yeah, they were playing at the
yeah, yeah,
Etihad.
yeah, yeah.
We expected a steamroll, and that's what exactly happened. And we have this. We Bournemouth are trying to play a JDP kind of style, where they are trying. That guy Anthony Iraola,
Mm-hmm.
he's trying to enforce. I mean, that's a good thing. Let me be very clear on that. He's trying to bring in a system. He's trying to play possession-based football in a small club, and that's a huge risk that they are willing to that's a huge risk that they're taking. And but still, he has got the guts to do that, and really appreciate him.
He'll
But
have
I
the guts to do that until he gets sacked doing the same thing. Like Bournemouth playing like this might be attractive for us being neutrals, but if they continue playing like this, they are not going to survive this season.
Yeah, I do. I felt that as well, bro. Because see, the same thing. Even Gary O'Neill tried the same thing with Bournemouth, but they sacked him.
Yeah,
And
because
he has
results
done.
didn't follow.
Yeah, but again, that's more than now he has come to Wolves and he has beaten City doing the same thing. Like doesn't that spring a surprise, right? Because I mean, I'm no fan of I'm no fan of Gary O'Neill as well. He's a good manager. He's not a bad manager at all. Make no mistake about it. But you know, it's more having the system is one thing, and having the quality of the players to do that is something else. Like
Mm-hmm.
when Gary O'Neill came to Wolves, he had this guy, the Korean guy. Sorry, I don't remember his name. I'm very sorry. He had he
Hee-chan,
had the Korean. Sorry.
Hee-chan, is it?
Yeah,
Yeah,
Hwang Hee-chan.
Hwang
Yeah,
Huang
Hwang
Hee-chan, yeah.
Hee-chan. Yeah,
Hee-chan.
he had Hwang Hee-chan. He's got Pedro Neto, and he's got a decent player, decent players who are definitely better than what he got at Bournemouth.
But
So
he
he's able.
lost. He This week he lost against Sheffield United, 2-1.
Yeah, yeah. Again, bro, your flawless it was a flail defense, so obviously it was bound to get exposed at some point of time. So he's got that quality to improve upon it, but Bournemouth don't have that quality, and they're suffering a lot. And City, they are known for their quality. Come on, 6-1 is not even a thrashing. It's not even a contest. That's like and we expected them to beat the holy crap out of Bournemouth, but this is like humiliating. And but
Yeah,
again, they're a small club. It's not a. I mean, they are no Manchester United or they are no Arsenal or they are no Liverpool. So, losing 6-1 is such a shame. But
yeah.
they're a small club. It's expected from them, so yeah, it's
Uh,
okay.
Arun, the West Ham game, right? Like Brentford, West Ham. West Ham won against us, and then they go to Brentford and lose 3-2. Like this is crazy, right?
That's the Premier League, I guess. I mean, I've been rooting for Brentford. They are much better than the results are showing. The manager too, whatever Bournemouth are trying to do for me, Brentford are doing it at a higher level, and both the teams are coming from the lower leagues in English football. So West Ham I don't consider them to be a threat away from home, even at home where they play with the fans being giving them all their support and all, they still lack quality in places that would cause them trouble in the long run. So that's the sort of team they are. Very happy with what Brentford did, and they played really well in that game too. I think they were 2-1 down and they came back to win
Yep,
3-2 if I remember
yep,
correctly. Yeah.
yep.
So yeah,
Our
I'm
guy,
happy for
our guy Mavropanos scored own goal. So
own goal, yeah, exactly. Yeah, yeah. Mavropanos scored a goal. Like I said, yeah, I'm happy with Brentford performing well always. I like, though they were one of the teams that beat us during that first three miserable games of that season. The way in which they play with what they have is without dropping down. That's a more important thing. You're giving your fans who would have otherwise been watching championship football something to cheer about by getting all these teams coming and putting a fight against them. So I like what Brentford do. I'm happy for them. And West Ham, yeah, I think it was always expected. I think I told you before, right? They're not going to be a club that is going to repeatedly be in European spots, but it's kind of going to be the club that decides sort of who finishes in those spots. Or
mhm,
look who finishes in the top four because of certain games where they tend to cause an upset. And
mhm.
and that's what would happen with them this season as well.
Kashyap, two quick games at you. Let's because we have to wrap up. There's less than 10 minutes left. The Burnley Crystal Palace game. Burnley are definitely going down, right? Like they are not going to stay up. They keep losing back to back. Do you think there is any way that Burnley could turn this around?
Yeah, bro, there is one way. Please start playing your long ball and inshallah game, because company,
Uh,
I really feel sorry for company. He shouldn't be getting this much stick, but they are very poor in the final third, bro. Like, even against, I don't watch Burnley's games much. I didn't watch this game as well, but based on what I read and what I am seeing and what I saw with the eye test, when they played Manchester United at home, they have got really good quality to progress the ball upwards, but in the final third they are just poor. So I
mhm.
think company should really start trying to play some physical and long ball football, the typical Sean Dice kind of football at Burnley. That is what
Yep.
company should start if they are to stay up, or else they're definitely going down.
The other game, right? Like Everton versus Brighton. Brighton started as this favorite team for everyone this season. This game showed exactly what it is. If you look at the game, Brighton had 80% possession and scored
Yes.
one goal. And Everton, with 20% possession, scored one goal. And it's even splits. Uh,
Yeah, bro. Like Brighton, Brighton. I mean, Brighton are also injury. They are also hit with a lot of injuries, right? So, and do they have like for like replacements to how they did last year? They do not. They sold their major players to big clubs and they minted a lot of money. But again, if you as a club were to progress forward, you don't need to retain some of your core players, right? They are selling off their core players every single year, and it's gonna come back to bite them at some point of time or the other, and maybe it has started right now. But again, make no mistake, Roberto De Zerbi is a very good manager. He's he's really highly rated by all. So again, this 1-1 draw and Everton scoring the first goal and playing at Goodison Park, it was clear, bro. They would come, they would score the first goal, park two buses in front of the goal, and they would irritate you for the rest of the game. That is how Everton play at home.
Yeah,
So
and they did succeed.
yeah,
Uh,
bro.
Around last but game, Luton Liverpool. That was complete surprise. Even
It would have
Klopp was
been a
surprised, right?
huge thing for Luton, isn't it? Like if they'd
Yeah,
won that game, probably like the moment of the season for them.
but what
Uh,
a miss by Darwin Nunes.
he's an enigma. This Nunes is like an enigma. He's like a chaos creator. He's like the kind of striker that you don't want to play against. But then like you give him the ball in the easiest of situation, he fails to score goals. But then all of a sudden he scores goals from like that Pape Cisse sort of a goal, the banana goal, sort of like the thing that he scored. I think it was in the Carabao Cup where he was like outside
Yeah, I
of
have
the
no
box,
idea.
and then
Yeah, yeah.
he scored an amazing goal. So like this guy, like I think if he's one on one with the goalkeeper or with an open goal, I think like you can be certain that he's not going to score. That's how it is right now. Like you put him in a tough situation, and he's more than capable of doing something from there.
I mean, they had
But
75% possession and still lost.
yeah,
That's fun to
yeah.
watch.
I was like
And
worried
bro,
because like I just turned the TV on to watch a couple of minutes, and I was like, oh my god, what if they scored now? So I'll turn it off, and then I turned the TV off, and immediately I see that they scored. So I was like cursing myself for that.
no,
So
bro. Like the thing is, Darwin. The thing about Darwin Nunez is that guy. He comes from the Portuguese league where they are technical and clinical, and this guy is, oh my god, what
completely,
is?
yeah.
Yeah,
So okay, we have 4 minutes left. I want like both of you to take the last game, which is Tottenham versus Chelsea. This is the absolute brilliant thing for me this weekend. I was so down with everything, and then like Tottenham does this. I mean, Tottenham is a team that keeps giving us this joy,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
Like, even
yeah,
in our lowest points, we just love seeing this happen, and they do it
yeah.
all the time.
It's unbelievable what Tottenham managed to do in this game, honestly, and I don't
Chelsea
understand
were shit.
why.
I mean, make no mistake,
Yeah, that's the
Chelsea were
thing. They
shit
were.
this game.
It was so frustrating to see like even before they went to 9 men, Tottenham were just happy playing the highline. And with 9 men, they defended with the 9 men highline, because that's the level of confidence that they had in the Chelsea strikers, like not being able to beat the offside trap and score. I don't know if you remember, Vijay, but the first half was entirely the ball being played to Sterling, the weight on the ball being too much.
Yep.
Either he is offside and gets to the ball, or the ball goes directly to Vicario.
Yeah.
That's how they played. It was like I was like, oh my god. At one point, I really thought that they were not going to win that game. I was certain that either Spurs would win, and they could have won the game too. I think if they'd gone 2-1, they would have probably not done this highline bullshit and maybe played a low block. Like this is, and I don't know why that manager is being praised for doing something that's this stupid, playing like a highline with 9 men and thinking that they could win. And I don't understand. Like right now, everybody wants a piece of that Tottenham deck, and they're getting it, and they're just happy with it. That's what I feel. Like nobody is questioning this. The pundits on TV are saying that this is a genius move. I don't know in what world that's a genius move, honestly. Then you're playing with 9 men, you are playing with 1-1. You have an opportunity to get something out of it. And this is what you do. And nobody would say anything. Just wait and see. Like tomorrow, it's all going to be like, oh, this manager is a genius.
I mean,
He's what like I want my manager to be, and all this
they
nonsense.
can talk all that, but they have lost like a lot of good players. Kashyap, like, they still sit second in the table, but they've lost. Madison was taken out injured, and Mickey Mouse guy, whatever his name is,
Mickey
the
Van
oh
Dijk,
my
defender.
yeah.
god,
Yeah, he was taken out.
bro.
Yeah.
I think he's out for
Before
2 months or
I'm
so.
very sorry to say this, but I as long see I do not wish injuries upon any players excepting for Bruno Guimaraes. That's that's
Yes,
for another day.
I love this. Yeah, go
But
ahead.
I was always kind of pretty sure that Spurs were one Madison injury away from capitulating. I did not watch the game, and capitulate they did.
Yep.
So again, I'm really, really, if any Spurs fans watching this episode, I'm really, really sorry for you guys.
No, I'm not. I'm happy about this. Fuck Spurs. I don't care about them. They are always the team that gives me so much joy. So, anyways, that is our roundup for this week. Uh, Thank you, guys. Thank you so much. This was surprisingly, it made me feel better. Thanks, Kashyap, for making me feel better after this, this loss. I was completely down and out. Spurs did half of the job, and you did the rest of it. Thank you so much, guys.
Thank you so much, bro.
Thank
My
you.
pleasure.
Absolutely. We will talk again. And before we wrap up, last thing that I want from both of you, we have Sevilla game midweek. Your predictions. Kashyap, go.
Yeah, bro. I think we are good enough to go 2-0 on them.
Okay.
2-0 at home, yes.
Arun,
2-1.
2-1. Okay, that's our predictions. And for listeners and viewers, please do put in your predictions. Thank you, guys. Thank you so much for joining in. Talk to you after the game. Bye.
Bye.